Do you find yourself re-watching some of the popular Avengers scenes late at night? Well, it turns out you're not the only one. From the hilarious puny god scene to one of the most epic battles in the MCU, you are the 10 most watched Marvel movie scenes. Let's dive right into it, shall we? Number 10. Hela breaks Mjolnir. This one sure had our jaws breaking the floor. Namely, she appeared during one of Thor and Loki's verbal fights. After all, Thor was pretty pissed after their father's passing, and while they were going back and forth, a mysterious black cloud started forming in the middle of the air. From it arose Hela, the daughter of Odin, the goddess of death and one of the most powerful goddesses in all of Asgard. And even though Odin said Thor was the most powerful god among them, we surely didn't know that when Hela arrived. Plus, when Thor threw Mjolnir at her face, we thought Hela was going to smash that like button if you haven't done so already. But as we all know, that's not what actually happened. Instead, she grabbed Mjolnir, the hammer wielded only by those who are worthy, and she smashed it into a million pieces with just one hand. Loki was smart to run away from her. It's not possible. Darling, you have no idea what's possible. Number 9. Dormammu locked in time. As you might already know, Dormammu is one of the most powerful beings that have ever been created in the MCU, which originated from the fault line dimension. And this guy caused a ton of problems for Doctor Strange in the 2016 movie by the same name. And Stephen Strange is not the one to back from a fight. When Earth was doomed and there was no alternative to saving it, he went to strike a deal with the diabolical Dormammu. But did he listen? Hell no. He just started throwing planets, spikes, tentacles, and basically everything that he could grab. Doctor Strange didn't die because he controlled time, and he got Dormammu in an endless time loop where he was the prisoner of a puny human with a cape. And this is precisely why millions of Marvel fans have rewatched this scene millions upon millions of times on YouTube. You will never win. No, but I could lose. Number 8. Puny God. We had to include this scene. We just had to. It was part of the first Avengers movie, and it was a battle between Loki and Hulk. Well, it wasn't so much a battle as it was complete domination of Hulk. And the only reason we included it was because it's insanely hilarious. And the ass-kicking, smashing, and squashing happened right when Loki started giving a speech about how he's better than everyone else. And Hulk was not having any of it. Just before he could finish boring, egotistical speech, the Green Giant grabbed him by the leg and cleaned the floor with him. Literally. He smashed him so hard that Loki could barely breathe afterwards. And all the memes that followed this scene were just as priceless. I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by half. Number 7. Quicksilver art with silverware. Now this is one of the most artistic scenes in the entire X-Men franchise. When Professor X and Magneto were finally caught by the police, the only thing that could save them from the mess was a super fast mutant that could run so fast time would just stand still. Hey, wait a minute here. Okay. You know what Quicksilver did next. He put on his super speed goggles and he got down to business. He ran so fast that everything seemed to stop for the time being. And while he was zapping around the kitchen, playing with the utensils and the silverware, he managed to knock out every police officer in there. Plus, the fact that this scene was coupled with Jim Croce's Time in a Bottle was purely mesmerizing to watch. And just as the bullets reached Professor X and Magneto, he moved them away from their heads with a flick of the wrist. If I could save time in a bottle, And number 6, Spider-Man stops train. His spidey senses were tingling when he saw Dr. Octopus rip out the train's controls. This scene happened after an epic fight with a tentacled doctor on top of a skyscraper. After ripping out the clock, they went down and continued the brawl on one of the moving trains. As passengers were watching the steel frame of the train cave in, and they witnessed Dr. Octopus finally ripping out the controls, they knew they were goners. But Peter Parker had something to say about that, and he wasn't going to stop until the train passengers were all safe and sound, and got in front of the locomotive, pushed his legs down the rails, and planks were flying around like sawdust. When this plan failed, the people started losing hope. But Spider-Man had another plan. He managed to stop the racing train by shooting his cobwebs at the nearby buildings and holding them at one end. Now, we understand that Spider-Man is powerful, but we didn't know he was more powerful than metal. But that's probably why the clip has millions of views. Number 5, Thor vs. Hela. We told you Thor Ragnarok was awesome. This is yet another scene that fans just couldn't stop watching. And it's because, in this scene, Thor realizes he's the most powerful god in the known universe, thanks to his wise and deceased father, Odin. And just as Hela is about to kill him, he rains down on her like a ton of bricks. Thunder destroys the top of Valhalla, and Thor comes down to the ground to destroy the minions of the goddess of death. Spinning thunder torpedoes and a ton of lightning is what makes this scene plain epic. Now, this wouldn't have the 10 million views if it didn't have Led Zeppelin killing it in the background. Oh, and when the team saw Thor stronger than ever, they were encouraged even more to destroy Hela. And number 4, Logan's death. Few actors can say that they've played a classic Marvel superhero for as long as Hugh Jackman has been playing Wolverine. He's been with us for 17 years, and the proper send-off came in 2017 with Logan. Even though he's tough as nails, he was no match for himself. And even though it wasn't with him holding his dead heart in his hands like Yukio predicted back in 2013, it's still one of the most memorable scenes in the MCU. His daughter did end up saving him from the more powerful Wolverine clone, but she was too late. He suffered too much damage to be able to recover from the wound. And just as Laura brought him down from the tree trunk that ended his life, we couldn't help but shed a few tears for the lost hero. It was the end of an era. This is And number 3, Snap. Few scenes are as memorable as this one. Thanos' snap echoed throughout this world just like it did in the MCU. And we have the Infinity Stones to blame for that. We have to give it to Thanos. He had a good motive. Lower the number of beings in the universe so that the finite resources would be enough for everyone. But his execution, however, now that was a bit crazy. The man wanted to wipe out half the life in the universe, half of all life. And that's when Thor had enough. Just as he was about to do it, Thor rammed his newly built axe through his chest, killing him in the process. But we all know he should have, quote, unquote, went for the head. Should have gone for the head. This gave Thanos enough time to snap his fingers and complete his plan. This, coupled with the fact that heroes were turning to dust left and right, earned this scene a place on our list. Number 2, I am Iron Man. Now this is what happens when you piss off Iron Man. Thanos took everything from the world, and the Avengers were looking at any conceivable way possible to restore balance to the universe. To achieve this, they had to go back in time and find Thanos before he could gather the Infinity Stones. And even though they tried hard, he still got the stones, and he was ready to use them once again. But you know that 1 in 14 million chance Doctor Strange talked about? Well, this is that one. Thanos got the stones, he had the Infinity Gauntlet, and he was about to snap his fingers when Tony Stark pulled all of the stones out of it and looked at the dumbstruck Thanos saying, Iron Man. Man, that gave us goosebumps. Of course, this did remind us of the first time he said it during the 2008 Iron Man movie, when he admitted to being the superhero in the Iron Suit. Number 1. Avengers Endgame Final Battle. And with this scene, we come to our number 1 pick. And to say this fight scene was epic would be an understatement. Just imagine this. Arguably, the most powerful villain in the MCU, plus his army, fighting all of the Avengers, the monks, the people of Wakanda, the Amazonians, and a giant Ant-Man. Now do you see why we included it on this list? All of the different battle scene videos on YouTube have a combined viewership of around 15 million, which tells you just how much people love this scene. And the fact that Tony Stark finally stole the Infinity Gauntlet and recalled Thanos' wish, even though it cost him his life in the end, that's how an epic hero goes out. And on that note, we end this video. But hey, which of these scenes were actually your favorite? You can tell us in the comment section